A lot has changed in 10 years. In the year 2008, England were on the back of missing Euro 2008, now we're basically the best team in the world, don't at me. Donald Trump was still just the face of the US apprentice, now he's in charge of the whole damn country, and the world of FIFA was very different too. While now we have great graphics and gameplay, you can't really say the same for FIFA 2009. Ronaldinho and Wayne Rooney were the cover stars, and today we're going to look at every Premier League club's best player on FIFA 10 years ago. Arsenal's CESC Fabregas. 10 years ago, CESC Fabregas was Arsenal's talisman. In late 2008 he became the Arsenal captain despite being just 21 years old, and he was already down as one of the best midfielders on FIFA 09. The Spanish playmaker had an incredible rating of 88, making him one of the best players in the Premier League, which is exactly what he was 10 years ago. On FIFA 19, now with Chelsea, Fabregas has dropped to an 83, still boasting the same passing talent but nowhere near as athletic. Bournemouth Darren Anderton. This would be Darren Anderton's final season as a professional footballer, playing for the Cherries deep into his 30s. Despite his ageing legs, Anderton was still the best player Bournemouth had, with a less than impressive rating of 60, which is a real reflection of where Bournemouth actually were 10 years ago. The Cherries had just been relegated to League 2, and Anderton would actually retire before Christmas, hanging up his boots at the age of 37. It was a less than inspiring Bournemouth squad that included current Crystal Palace defender Joel Ward on loan. Brighton Adam Hinchelwood. No disrespect to this guy, but I've never even heard of him, but the defender was Brighton's best player on FIFA 09 with a rating of 65, but he had the potential to get to a 75, which is fairly decent. It was a career that was disrupted by injuries, and this would be Hinchelwood's last season with Brighton before joining Aldershot. He would return to the club as a coach and was last seen managing Hastings United before leaving in September last year. Burnley Wade Elliott. In a season that Burnley won promotion to the Premier League, Wade Elliott was their best player on FIFA 09. The winger had a whopping rating of 70, having played in every championship game the season before. In fact, it was Elliott who would actually seal the Clarets' promotion to the top flight, scoring the only goal of the 2009 Championship Player Final against Sheffield United. He would make more than 250 appearances for both Bournemouth and Burnley respectively, and now aged 39, Elliott is a coach at Stoke City. Cardiff City Joe Ledley. A decent championship midfielder at the time, Joe Ledley was just 21 years old, but really making his mark at Cardiff, having made his debut at the age of 17. In the season prior to FIFA 09 being released, Ledley scored 10 championship goals for the Bluebirds, his best ever goal tally, and his goal saw him rewarded with a 72 rating on the video game to make him Cardiff's best player ahead of Eddie Johnson, who was Cardiff's only other player in the 70s. Oh, how things have changed, although I bet Ledley could still do a job in Wales. Chelsea John Terry. 10 years ago, John Terry was arguably at the peak of his powers, a leader at the back for Chelsea at the age of 27. Along with Petr Cech, Terry was Chelsea's best player on FIFA 09, boasting a huge rating of 88 to make him the joint best centre-back on the game alongside Carlos Puyol and Alessandro Nesta, strong company for the former England captain. Nowadays, Terry is assistant coach at Aston Villa, having finally hung up his boots after a season playing at Villa Park in the Championship. Crystal Palace Ben Watson. While Palace might have one of the most exciting players in the Premier League in Wilfried Zaha now, in 2008 they had Ben Watson in the Championship. The gingerhead midfielder was their best player with a rating of 72, still just a young midfielder at the age of 23. Watson wouldn't be a championship player for long after FIFA 09 came out, joining Premier League side Wigan in the January transfer window, which would then make Julian Speroni Palace's best player with a rating of 71. At 39 years old, the goalkeeper is still at Selhurst Park. Everton Yakubu. Feed the yak and he will score, and that's exactly what he did at Everton. FIFA 09 was released on the back of the Nigerian's first season as a toffee, and it was a season in which he scored 21 goals for the club. A sensational tally saw him get a pretty huge FIFA rating, sitting pretty with a rating of 84 to make him one of the more deadly strikers around. While the game was released at a time when Yakubu was in red hot form, an 84 still seems a bit kind, and maybe suggests that some players were slightly overrated on the game. Fulham Andy Johnson. Speaking of former Everton strikers, Andy Johnson arrived at Fulham from Goodison Park in the summer of 2008, costing the Cottagers around £10 million. Johnson immediately became Fulham's best player on FIFA 09 with his rating of 80, pipping Brede Hanglin at top spot. Bantosaurus Jimmy Bollard was close with a 78, but Johnson took top spot at Craven Cottage. And despite scoring just 7 goals in his first season with Fulham, Johnson was able to maintain his 80 rating on FIFA 10, but by then Brede Hanglin had surpassed him with a rating of 83. Huddersfield Town David Unsworth. David Unsworth's last season as a footballer was at Huddersfield Town, and his final appearance on a FIFA game saw him named as the Terriers' best player with a rating of just 67. At the age of 34 when the game was released, Unsworth was one rating better than Andy Butler in a Huddersfield team that were playing in League One. While he may have been their best player, Huddersfield barely saw any of David Unsworth, making just 4 appearances and missing a penalty in his last ever game for the club. Leicester City, Matt Oakley. While Leicester might have one of the most exciting young squads around right now, that certainly wasn't the case 10 years ago. The Foxes were a League One side, having just been relegated from the second tier, and ultimately their squad wasn't very good. Leicester had 3 players tied for top spot, with Matt Oakley, Patrick Kisnobo and Alexander Tunchev all tied on a rating of 68, which is nothing to write home about. A lot has changed for Leicester in 10 years, but FIFA 09 was not a good game to be a Foxes fan. Liverpool, Fernando Torres. It's safe to say that Liverpool got the best years out of Fernando Torres, not Chelsea. The Spanish striker arrived in 2007 and scored 33 goals in his first season at Anfield and was rewarded with a huge rating of 88 on FIFA 09, making him their best player alongside captain Steven Gerrard. With that pair, the Reds would go on to nearly win the title, coming second behind Manchester United. 10 years on and Liverpool have someone just as good on FIFA in Mo Salah, while Torres is playing his football out in Japan, where goals have been hard to come by. Manchester City, Robinho. A year prior, Manchester City's best player on FIFA was Micah Richards with an 82, but on FIFA 09 they'd finally got themselves some money and brought in Samba superstar Robinho from Real Madrid. The Brazilian had a rating of 85, the real standout player in a side that was yet to fully see the benefit of Sheikh Mansour's millions. 10 years on and Man City have one of the best players in the league on FIFA in Kevin De Bruyne, as well as 3 Premier League titles to their name. I think we all know which one is much more important, the FIFA rating. Manchester United, Cristiano Ronaldo. While Wayne Rooney was the cover star, it was Cristiano Ronaldo who was Manchester United's best player on FIFA 09. The superstar had a rating of 91 to make him the best player in the Premier League and the best player on the game, having scored 31 goals the season before FIFA 09's release. It would be the final time that Ronaldo would feature in the Premier League on FIFA, joining Real Madrid the following year for a then world record fee. 10 years on and Ronaldo is now the cover star for FIFA, boasting an incredible rating of 94. Newcastle United, Shay Given. During Mike Ashley's ownership of Newcastle, they've been relegated twice, and the season of FIFA 09's release will be the first relegation. On FIFA 09, the Magpies had a strong squad, with Shay Given their best player at 83, making him one of the top keepers in the Premier League. He wouldn't be there for much longer though, leaving that January for Manchester City. As for Newcastle, they dropped into the Championship with a squad full of mercenaries, something they would replicate a few years later. It's almost as if someone doesn't learn from his mistakes. Southampton, Andrew Surman. 10 years ago, the Saints were a Championship side, and Academy product Andrew Surman was one of their best players on FIFA 09, with his rating of 68 putting him alongside Kelvin Davis and Stern John. Aged just 22, Surman had a potential rating of 78, but did he reach it? Well, he's now a Bournemouth player in his 30s, and while he's not quite at a 78, he's damn close to the rating of 76. So it turns out that FIFA 09 was actually pretty accurate. Well, it was when it comes to Andrew Surman at least. Tottenham, Luka Modric. Spurs were not the side they are today 10 years ago. While on FIFA 19 they have highly rated players such as Harry Kane and Christian Eriksen, on FIFA 09 they had no one higher than an 82. They had 3 82 rated players, Luka Modric, Aurelio Gomez and David Bentley. While one's retired and one's back up at Watford, the other one won the player of the tournament at this year's World Cup. Yes, David Bentley was the best player at the World Cup. No, of course it was Luka Modric, who is now recognised as one of the world's best central midfielders, with his ability to dominate games and pick apart defences with his passing. Watford, Tommy Smith. It's fair to say that Tommy Smith is a bit of a Watford legend. Across 2 spells he would play for the club more than 300 times, and on FIFA 09 he was the Hornets' best rated player with a 71 alongside Jay Demerit. Watford were a Championship club at the time, and now safe in the knowledge that he was Watford's best player, Smith would score a career best 17 Championship goals. I mean, I assume it was because of the FIFA rating that gave him the confidence. How else did he manage to score that many? West Ham, Dean Ashton. After scoring 10 Premier League goals the season before, Dean Ashton would become West Ham's best player on FIFA 09 with a rating of 81. It was a rating he'd justify early on, but after a strong start of the season, he was struck down with injury, which was to be expected because he's Dean Ashton. It was an injury that would ultimately end his career, with Ashton calling time at the age of 26 in December 2009. Nowadays we see Ashton working as a pundit, which is a shame considering he's only 34 years old. And finally Wolves' Wayne Hennessy. 10 years ago Wayne Hennessy was rated as 75 on FIFA 09. On FIFA 19 he's still a 75. And amazingly, the lad is only 31 years old, which is no age for a goalkeeper. He was practically a baby when he broke through at Wolves, but FIFA 09 gave him a potential rating of 82. While he hasn't achieved that potential, fair play to the Wales international for being a Premier League #1 still, as I'm not massively sure how he's done it. I think it's fair to say that Wolves fans are pretty happy they got Rui Patricio now instead. So that's every Premier League club's best player on FIFA 09. Let us know what you think in the comments below. Thanks for watching and don't forget to like, share and subscribe.